She posted 14 times. About your marriage. About him. About you. She deleted every single post within a few hours of writing it. She thought they were gone. Archive crawler saved all 14 before the deletions went through. You found them on a Thursday at 2 a.m. on a laptop in your own kitchen. And what she wrote in those 14 posts over 3 months on a throwaway account she made at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday changes everything you thought you understood about your own marriage. We are going to read every single one. Right now, it is a Thursday in March. Late. Way past the time any reasonable person is still awake on a work night. You are in the kitchen not because you wanted to be, but because you woke up at 1:40 a.m. and your brain did that awful thing it does sometimes where it just refuses to go back. So you are sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of water you have barely touched, and the laptop is open because the laptop is always open, and you are doing nothing in particular, really just killing time until your brain calms down and lets you sleep. Your wife is upstairs. Cassie. She has been asleep since 10, which she does sometimes when work gets rough, just completely crashes. You left her there when you woke up, careful not to wake her, pulled the door halfway closed behind you. That part is normal. That part is the most normal thing you have done in months, probably. You have been on Reddit for maybe 20 minutes. Nothing in particular, just the usual late night scrolling through whatever the algorithm spits up, funny posts, mildly outrageous posts, the kind of harmless stuff that fills the weird gap between wakefulness and sleep. And then your phone, sitting face up on the table beside you, buzzes with a message from your friend Jordan. It is a weird time for Jordan to be texting, but Jordan works night shifts sometimes, so it is not completely out of nowhere. The text says one thing. It says, "Hey, don't freak out, but you should look at this." And there is a link to an Unddit page. Unddit, for those who don't know, is an archive tool that captures and stores Reddit posts before they are deleted. It is the kind of thing most people have never heard of unless they have specifically gone looking for deleted content, which Jordan clearly had. You stare at the message for a second. You stare at it long enough that Jordan sends a follow-up. "I saw it a few weeks ago when something came up in my feed. I held onto it because I didn't know what to do. I'm sorry. I really am." You read that twice. You put the phone down for a second. Then you pick it up and tap the link. The page loads and you see the username first. You throw away confused wife 11. And your stomach does something that stomachs should not physically be able to do. Because that username contains a number. And that number is not random. 11. The year you and Cassie started dating. She uses it as a password modifier on everything, has since year 3. You have always thought it was sweet. Right now, looking at that username on a screen at 2 a.m., sweet is really not the word you would use. You scroll down. The page shows a list of archived posts, all deleted, all from the same account. 14 of them. All posted to raw surviving infidelity. The first one was posted on a Tuesday in October. The last one on a Wednesday in January. 3 months of posts that you knew nothing about. 3 months of posts that were deleted within hours of going up. 3 months of your marriage described to strangers on the internet. You look at the clock on the laptop. It says 2:07 a.m. You take a breath. You are about to read every single one of these. But first, let me tell you who you are and what this marriage actually was. Because none of what follows makes any sense without that. You met Cassie in 2011 at a work event neither of you wanted to be at. A networking night for people in adjacent industries, the kind of stuffy gathering where everyone holds a wine glass and talks about their commute. You got stuck in a corner with her because you both went for the cheese table at the same moment and neither of you could figure out how to exit gracefully. You ended up talking for 2 hours and leaving before the event was over. You ate terrible pizza in a place 3 blocks away and talked until midnight on a work night. You both pretended to care about being tired the next day and neither of you actually cared at all. You dated for 3 years, which felt like the right amount. Not rushed, not dragged out. You got engaged on a Saturday morning at home, not at a restaurant, not with a flash mob, just you and her in the kitchen before she was fully awake, and you asked the question and she said yes before you had even finished asking it. You got married in the summer, small wedding, 30-odd people you both actually liked. Your first dance song was something she had picked years before she even met you and had told you about on that second terrible pizza night, and when you proposed you had already had the DJ save it. But she cried when it came on. Proper ugly cry, the kind that wrecks mascara. You loved her for it. The early years of the marriage were good. Genuinely, actually good. Perfect. Nothing is, but the kind of solid, warm, day-to-day good that you feel lucky to have. You argued sometimes about real things and small things in equal measure. You made up well. You had inside jokes that took 3 years to explain to anyone else. You had a shorthand in communication that you had built so slowly over so many years that you had forgotten you had built it. You just knew what she meant. You thought she just knew what you meant too. The 5th year was harder than the others. Nothing dramatic, nothing that would register to anyone on the outside. Just the ordinary weight of two people who have been building a life together starting to feel the effort of the building a little more than they used to. Work was demanding for both of you. You moved to a new place and the move took more out of you than expected. You got into a rut of spending evenings on separate screens and calling it companionship. You talked about this once in a real conversation in the kitchen and decided to be more intentional about it. You did better for a while. You thought you were doing fine. In the October of year 6, Cassie started working with a new team. She mentioned a colleague named Marcus a few times. A name like a minor character in a story who you never expect to matter. He was good at his job. They worked closely on a project. She seemed energized in a way that you chalked up to a new challenge at work. You were genuinely happy she was enjoying it. You told her she seemed lighter. She said it was just nice to be doing something interesting again. You believed that completely. You were still believing it on a Tuesday night in October when she posted, for the very first time, to our Surviving Infidelity. From a throwaway account. 11 p.m. After you had already gone to bed. You are reading these at 2 a.m. You are reading them in the order they were written. The posts are archived with their original timestamps, their original text, the upvotes they received before deletion, and the first wave of comments that came in before she pulled them down. The comments she read. The advice strangers gave her about her life. About your life. All 14 of them. Right now. Post you'll wanna pass October 8th top 11:04 p.m. but deleted 2:31 a.m. Title: I think I made a mistake and I don't know what to do. This is the one that gets you first. Not because it is the most devastating, it is actually the most restrained of the 14. It gets you because of the timestamp. 11:04 p.m. You know what you were doing at 11:04 p.m. on October 8th. You were asleep. You had worked late that day and came home tired and eaten dinner and fallen asleep on the couch by 10:30, and she had woken you up gently and walked you to bed. You remember thanking her for that. She had been so gentle about it. An hour later, while you were asleep, she was on Reddit telling strangers she had made a mistake. The post reads like this. Throwaway because I'm scared of anyone finding this. I've been on this subreddit for a few weeks reading other people's posts trying to figure out what I am. I'm a 34-year-old woman. I've been married for 3 years to someone who is genuinely good to me. Not perfect, not a saint, but honestly good. Kind. Present. The kind of husband you're supposed to want. I haven't slept with anyone else. I think I like where this is going, and I don't understand how I got here. Posted at 11:04 p.m., deleted at 2:31 a.m. Before she deleted it, 73 people upvoted it, and 41 left comments. Most of the comments are gentle. Most of them say some version of the same thing. You already know what this is. You wouldn't be on this subreddit if you didn't. One comment near the top says, the fact that you came here at all means part of you is looking for someone to stop you. Listen to that part. She did not respond to a single comment. She just read them. And then at 2:31 in the morning, she deleted everything and went back to bed. Back to the bed where you were sleeping. You sit there at the kitchen table for a moment. You have barely touched the water. You scroll to post 02. To post 02 as October 17th, 10:38 p.m. port. Deleted 1:12 a.m. title. He texts me every morning before I'm even awake. 9 days between post 01 and post 02. 9 days in which you cooked dinner together 3 times, had an argument about something genuinely small that you do not even fully remember, and went to see a film on a Saturday that you both thought was fine but not great. Completely ordinary 9 days. All of this was happening, she was apparently reading back through her first post every couple of days. The archive shows a view count. She visited it 6 times before coming back to write post 02. The second post is less structured than the first. Feels like it was written faster, like the gap between the thought and the typing was shorter. I'm back. I know I said I was going to handle this, and I think part of me did try. I put some distance in at work. I want to understand when the normal thing became the wrong thing. I can't find the line anymore. My husband made me coffee that morning, brought it to me while I was still in bed, which he does sometimes and which I genuinely love. And I was holding the coffee he made me and texting someone else. I still feel sick about it, but I didn't stop. Posted at 10:38 p.m. You had been asleep upstairs since 10. You can check that? You did check that, actually, after reading this, because your fitness tracker syncs to your phone and it shows your sleep data. You were in deep sleep by 10:15 on October 17th. She waited until you were out cold. The comments on post 02 are more direct than on post 01. One says, "The line is wherever you drew it. You've crossed it." Another says, "Please stop being vague with yourself. You know what this is." Third says something that makes you breathe in sharply when you read it. The coffee detail is the one that's going to stay with you. When it's over, that's the detail you won't be able to forget. She responded to none of them. She deleted the post at 1:12 a.m. She woke you up the next morning at 7:30 and kissed you on the cheek and asked if you wanted eggs. You said yes. You did not know anything. Post 03 pars October 29 th 11:22 p.m. deleted 8:47 a.m. Title: Genuine question to this sub. How do you know if you still love your spouse? This one stayed up until morning. 8 hours and 25 minutes, which is the longest of any of the 14. She posted it after 11 and didn't delete it until she got home from work the next evening. By then it had 214 upvotes and 87 comments. You remember October 29th very specifically. You remember it because it was the night before your birthday. She had been quiet all evening. When you asked if she was okay, she said she was just tired. You told her you were too. You watched something together on the sofa and she fell asleep against you, which she hadn't done in a while, and you thought it was nice. You went to bed feeling genuinely good about things, a bit optimistic actually. 12 minutes after you fell asleep, she posted this. I know how this sub feels about people in my position, so I'm going to be very direct. I am in the early stages of an emotional affair. I've read enough posts here to know what that means. I know how it goes. I'm not asking about the affair, I'm asking something separate. How do you know when you have stopped loving your husband? I know this is a lot. You read that 3 times, at least. Now the last paragraph, not the uncomfortable bits. The bit about the sigh. The thing you do when you fall asleep. The thing she has always said she loved. She wrote about it on the internet the night before your birthday. She wrote about it and described it and called it a love she was questioning. And then she came to bed and slept next to you. And in the morning she made you birthday pancakes. With the blueberries she always forgets you prefer on the side and not cooked in. But she remembered this year. You thought she had remembered. The top comment on post 03 has 341 upvotes. It says, the difference between I love him and I love our life is not as much of a distinction as you're making it. You're trying to give yourself permission. Don't do that. She did not reply. She deleted the post at 8:47 the following evening. You came home from work that day and she hugged you at the door, which she sometimes does. You thought she seemed better than she had been lately. You thought the birthday weekend had done something good. You did not know she had been reading 87 comments about whether she still loved you. All day long. On her work phone. Post 04 November 16th, 10:55 p.m. deleted 11:59 p.m. Title: He thinks it's work stress. I can't look him in the eye. Post 04 is the shortest of the 14. 211 words. Posted late on a Wednesday and deleted before midnight, just barely over an hour of it being up. 4 upvotes. 3 comments, none of which she had time to read because she pulled it so fast. But you read what she wrote. Things have escalated and I don't know when exactly that happened. We haven't done anything. Still, every single time he's kind about it, I feel worse. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who I am right now. You remember that night. You remember it clearly, actually, because of the tea. You make tea badly, always have, and she always ribs you about it, but you made it because she looked tired and sad in a way you couldn't put your finger on, and you thought the gesture mattered more than the quality. She had already been in the bathroom. She came back out looking fine. She drank the tea. She thanked you. She sat with you and watched TV and seemed better. You thought you had done the right thing. You were so proud of yourself for noticing, for reading her. While you were being proud of yourself for the tea, she was posting about it. Post 05 November 14th at 9:43 p.m. Deleted at 10:17 p.m. Title, update. I ended it for real this time. Post 05 is live for exactly 34 minutes. It has no comments when she deletes it. It says, I told him today that I needed to stop talking outside of work. I didn't give him a reason. I just said it needed to be professional from now on. He said okay. He seemed hurt. I felt guilty for hurting him, and then I felt insane for feeling guilty about that when I am the one with a husband at home. I said it though. I actually said it. I don't know how long this lasts, but today I meant it. I'm gonna fix this. You clocked the gap. 11 days since post 04. Something changed in 11 days. Something escalated enough that she needed to draw a line. She drew it. And she posted about it at 9:43 p.m. on a Thursday, on a night you remember because you went for a run after dinner and came back feeling good, and she seemed lighter than she had in weeks when you got in. You told her she seemed lighter. She laughed. She said she felt better. She had just ended something, or so she said, and the relief in her was real. You felt it. You thought it was you. You thought coming home after a run and seeing her smile was something you had contributed to. The title says, for real this time. That phrase should have been a clue. For real this time implies there was a last time. You read that phrase sitting at your kitchen table at 2 a.m. and you feel something drop in your chest. Because you never knew there was a first time. Post EO6 November 21 ST 11:51 p.m. Deleted 3:09 a.m. Title, I lied in my last post. 7 days. It lasted 7 days. I didn't end it. I tried. I think I did actually try for a few days, but he reached out on Sunday and I responded. I told myself it would just be that once to close things properly, and then it wasn't just that once. I'm back where I was. I know what this sub is gonna say. I'm not asking for advice. I just needed to say it out loud somewhere because I cannot say it anywhere in my actual life, and it is crushing me to carry it. I'm sorry. You've just read 6 posts. There are 8 more on the way. You sit there for a minute after post 06. Just a minute. Not to process, not really. There is not enough information yet to fully process anything. You sit there because the kitchen is very quiet at 3 a.m. and the house you share with your wife feels like it belongs to a stranger for a moment. Just a moment. Then you keep reading. The comments on post 06 are the harshest of any post so far. One says, you already know the answer. You're just hoping this sub will give you a different one. One says, stop performing guilt. Either leave the affair or leave your marriage. There is no third option. One says, and this one you read twice. You said you know what this makes you. I think you do. The question is whether you care enough about what it makes you to stop. She did not reply to any of them. She deleted post 06 at 3:09 a.m. a Tuesday night. You were asleep. You always were. Post 07 November 30th 10:21 p.m. at deleted 1:47 a.m. Title, he planned a date night tonight. I went. I texted Marcus in the bathroom. You remember November 30th. You planned that date for 2 weeks. You made a reservation at the place you went on your 3rd date, the Italian one with the bread that she has been talking about going back to for years. You arranged it without telling her, picked her up from work, watched her face do the thing it does when she is genuinely surprised. She was so happy. She said she couldn't believe you remembered. She kept squeezing your hand across the table. She ordered the pasta she always orders at places like that, and you ordered something different for a change, and she stole half of it, which she always does. You laughed more than you had in months. On the way home, she said it was exactly what she needed. Exactly those words. What she needed. She posted about that night. Tonight, my husband planned a surprise date night. I don't know how to explain what that feels like from the inside except to say it is very, very exhausting and that the exhaustion is completely my own doing, and that somehow that makes it worse rather than better. My husband asked if everything was okay on the way home and I said it was perfect. I meant the evening. I hope. I don't know what I meant. That restaurant bathroom is tiny. You have been in it. There is a cracked tile on the second wall and a mirror with a water stain in the top corner and a single overhead light that makes everyone look vaguely unwell. While you were at that table feeling proud of yourself, feeling like the evening was going exactly how you had hoped it would go, she was standing in that bathroom under that light texting him. Then she came back out and took your hand and said it was exactly what she needed. Exactly. The top comment says, "I'm not going to pile on. I just want to ask, what would it take for you to stop?" She did not answer. She never answered a single comment across all 14 posts. Post 08, December 19th, 9:57 p.m. Title edit 11:03 p.m. Title, "He bought me flowers. The same ones from our first date. I don't deserve this. You need to brace yourself for this one. I am going to tell you that now. You bought her flowers on December 9th because you had read something that week about not waiting for occasions, about how small gestures in ordinary weeks are the ones that compound over time. You stopped at the florist on the way home from work. Yellow tulips. Yeah. The same ones you brought her on your actual first date, the ones you had picked without much thought and which had turned out to be her favorite, a coincidence so ridiculous she had talked about it for months. You brought them home and put them on the kitchen table without saying anything, just set them there and started making dinner. When she walked in and saw them, she was very quiet for a moment. You remember thinking she seemed moved. She came and hugged you for longer than usual, said nothing, just held on. You thought it was a good evening. You really did. Her post about it. I'm gonna keep this short. My husband brought me the same flowers from our first date tonight, and he didn't make a big deal of it. He just put them on the table and started cooking. And he brought me tulips from the first date and started making pasta, and I went and hugged him, and I did not deserve a single second of that hug. I keep thinking the guilt will make me stop. It doesn't. I don't understand myself right now. I genuinely don't. You got nothing for a few seconds. Nothing at all. You sat there at 2 a.m. with that post on your screen, and for a while the house was very still. A glass of water had gone warm. The clock said 2:51. She was upstairs asleep. And you were down here reading the things she wrote about your tulips on a night in December when you thought you were doing everything right. You were doing everything right. It just did not matter to her the way you thought it did. Or maybe it did. Maybe that is the cruelest part. Maybe it mattered to her enormously and she did this anyway. Pose 09 of December 15th, 11:33 p.m. Della 10 mm. Title, he asked me tonight if I was happy. I said yes. 37 minutes. And this one is up for 37 minutes. He asked me while we were doing the dishes, just turned and asked, "Are you happy?" And I said yes, and I meant it on some level, which is the strange part. I am not unhappy. I'm guilty and confused and exhausted and doing something I shouldn't be doing, but I'm not actively unhappy. I don't know if that's better or worse. He asked a real question and I gave him a true but incomplete answer, and he smiled and went back to drying a plate. I watched him dry that plate and I thought, he trusts me completely. He has no idea he is drying a plate with absolute confidence in me and in this marriage. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I know what I should do. I just don't know if I'm gonna do it. You did ask her, doing dishes just like she said. You remember asking because you had been a bit worried about her lately and you wanted to check in without making a big thing of it. She said yes and smiled, and you felt relieved and went back to drying. Plate. Drying a plate with what she called absolute confidence. You were not confident. You were just trusting her. There is a difference between the two things, and she confused them, or maybe she needed to, or maybe it was easier to call it confidence than to call it what it really was. What it really was you loving her. Just that. Completely. Post 10, December 19th, 12:07 a.m. Della 6:45 a.m. Title, I've been on this sub for 2 months. I know what I am. I just haven't accepted it. After midnight. The first one that breaks past midnight in the timestamps. She is awake after midnight when you are asleep, and she is posting to a subreddit about surviving infidelity, about herself being the person people come to that subreddit to survive. 2 months on this sub. I've read maybe 1,000 posts. I know the vocabulary. I know what an emotional affair is. I know what the research says about where they go. I know the statistics on marriages that survive and the ones that don't and what the variable is. I know all of it. I've been in this sub longer than I have been in the affair, technically, and I think that's interesting. I came here because I wanted to understand something. I think I came here hoping someone would stop me before I had to stop myself. Nobody can stop me from here. I know that now. The only person who can make a decision is me. I've known that from the beginning. I just keep coming back here anyway because typing it out somewhere is the only honest thing I do in a day, and I need at least one honest thing. Even if it disappears as soon as I post it, maybe because it disappears. Maybe because it disappears. That phrase. That one phrase. She came here to be honest because honesty disappeared when she deleted the post. 14 posts, all deleted, all erased, a clean slate every single time. Except they were not erased. They were right here, right on this screen, at 3 a.m. in your kitchen. You close your eyes for a second, just a second, then you keep reading. Post 11 of December 23 RD 10:14 p.m. delete at 4:51 a.m. Title: We went on a vacation weekend. I thought about Marcus the entire time. You went to the coast for the weekend before Christmas. It was something you had been planning since October. A small inn you had stayed at on your honeymoon, one you had been meaning to go back to for ages, and you finally just booked it. You drove up on the Friday evening. You had dinner at the same restaurant on the pier. You walked on the beach on Saturday morning in the cold like idiots, and she laughed at the wind, and you took a terrible photo of her with her hair everywhere that she refused to let you keep but that you kept anyway. On Saturday night, you sat by the fire in the room and talked for 2 hours straight about nothing in particular and everything in general, the kind of meandering, deep conversation you used to have all the time in the early years. You drove home on Sunday feeling like you had got something back. Something real. We did the coast trip this weekend, the one we've been meaning to do. It was lovely in every objective way. It was wonderful. He always is. I took a photo of him by the water that I'm going to keep forever. He was laughing at something stupid I said, and the light was right, and he looked like himself in a way he doesn't always, or maybe I'm seeing him differently right now. The whole weekend I was present in my body and absent everywhere else. I kept thinking about what Marcus said to me on Friday morning before I left. A very small thing, I won't write it here, but I kept coming back to it. In the car on the way up, at dinner, while we were talking by the fire, which was genuinely one of the better conversations we've had in months. I kept coming back to it. I feel like I am doing this marriage sideways. Like I'm in it, but offset from it. I'm so tired. I don't want to be doing this anymore. I genuinely don't want to be doing this. You read that and you catch the specific thing. I don't want to be doing this anymore? She means the affair. You are pretty sure she means the affair. But it is December 23rd and she is still posting on this account and still texting Marcus, and still there is nothing you know about any of this, so whatever she meant, she did not act on it. You took a terrible photo of her with her hair everywhere on that beach. You kept it anyway. Wait, you have it on your phone right now at 3 a.m. in this kitchen. You do not look at it. Paused while January 4th, 11 to 8 p.m. deleted 2:33 a.m. Title: Marcus wants to meet my friends. I said no. New Year, a gap of 12 days. Since post 11, over Christmas, which you spent with her family, then with yours, 3 days of normal family chaos that you both navigate with your usual good humor. You had talked on New Year's Eve, just the two of you, about what you wanted from the coming year. She said she wanted to feel more settled. You said you wanted more of the coast weekends. You clinked glasses. Neither of you knew then that on January 4th she would be posting this at 11 p.m. He asked if I wanted him to meet some of my friends. Casually, he said. Like a group thing, nothing formal. I said no. I said I needed the different parts of my life to stay separate. He accepted that, but the fact that he asked means something. It means this is becoming something to him that it isn't to me, or that it can't be to me, or that I've let it become that. I said no, and he seemed hurt, and I spent the rest of the afternoon thinking about how to fix that. And then I caught myself and thought, I am sitting here at work thinking about how to fix the feelings of the man I'm having an affair on my husband with, after turning down his request to meet my friends, which I turned down because my friends know my husband, because my friends are our friends, because you cannot separate this off that cleanly no matter how much you try. I think I've been very stupid. I've been very stupid for a long time. The comments on this one are shorter than previous posts. One just says, yes. Another says, you already know the answer. Same comment. This sub seems to have been leaving her from the beginning. She deleted it at 2:33 a.m. and you were asleep when she got back into bed, and in the morning you made breakfast and she sat at this exact table in this exact kitchen and looked at you and smiled and said morning in the ordinary easy way she always does. You stare at the table where she sat. This table. You keep reading. Post 13 is January 11th, 10:43 p.m. deleted 11:55 p.m. Title: I've made a decision. I'm gonna tell my husband everything. I need advice on how. 72 minutes. The 10 shortest runtime of all 14 posts. I've decided. I'm telling him. I don't know exactly when, this week or next, but I've decided. I need to know how people have done this. Because I want it to go well for me, I don't deserve it to go well for me. But because I love him and I don't want to do more damage than I already have, which I know is an absurd thing to say at this point, but it's true. Has anyone actually come back from this? What did you say? How did you start? I ended things with Marcus yesterday. That part is done. I ended it properly this time. I need to know how to begin the conversation with my husband. There are 23 comments when she deletes it. The comments are split, so some say tell him, some say think very carefully about whether confession is for him or for her, some say get a therapist first. One long comment near the top says, the fact that you came here to ask how to begin the conversation suggests you don't actually know if you're ready. That's okay, but don't do it until you know why you're doing it. She reads 23 comments in 72 minutes. Then she deletes the post and does not have the conversation with you. Not that week. Not the following week. You do not know this yet. Right now, tonight, you are living in the period between post 13 and post 14 and post 14. You are living in the 2 weeks after she decided to tell you. And she didn't. You remember January. She was quieter. More affectionate, actually. More careful with you. She asked one evening if you thought the two of you were okay, and you said yes. Why? She said she just wanted to hear it. You said, of course we are. She squeezed your hand and went back to her book. You thought that was normal. Post 14, QR January 22 ND 2:47 a.m. deleted 2:51 a.m. Title: you entitled cached preview only 4 minutes. This one is posted at 2:47 in the morning and deleted at 2:51. 4 minutes. There is no title. The Unddit crawler caught a partial cache. The first line of the text field before it was pulled. The archive shows only this. I told him. He was asleep, but I woke him up and I told him everything. And then it ends. That is where the cache cuts. The rest of the post does not exist anywhere in the archive. She posted it at 2:47 a.m. and deleted it at 2:51 a.m. and whatever she wrote after that word, everything, you will never know. You have read all 14 posts. You look at that fragment for a long time. You look at it in the specific way you look at something that is incomplete and unsatisfying and that you will keep returning to. Everything what? What did she tell him? What did she mean when she woke him up at 2:47 a.m.? Was it everything? Was it partial? Was it confusing enough that it led somewhere different from a full confession? You will not find the answer in the archive. The archive is done. The archive ends here. You look at the clock. 4:11 a.m. You have been sitting in this kitchen for 2 hours and 4 minutes. You have read 14 posts. You have read everything she wrote to strangers on the internet about your marriage. Everything she could not say to you. Everything she said instead to a subreddit deleted before morning, kept alive by a crawler, found by your best friend, sent to you on a Thursday night. You close the laptop. All the way. Just to the angle where the screen goes dark, but you have not actually shut it. You sit with your hands flat on the table in the kitchen you share with her. The kitchen where she made birthday pancakes in October. Where you made bad tea on a November night. Where she sat the morning after post 12 and said morning to you in the ordinary easy way. You sit there for probably 20 minutes. Not thinking about anything specific. Just sitting. Then you close the laptop all the way. You stand up. You go to the stairs. You stop at the bottom of the stairs for a long moment. And then you go back to the kitchen and you sit down and you open the laptop again. Because you need to read that fragment one more time. I told him. He was asleep, but I woke him up and I told him everything. You need to understand what word comes after that. You need it very badly. You are not going to find it tonight. This is the N9 layer. This is the part that most people skipped past in every Reddit channel before this one. This is the aftermath, not what everyone predicted, not the neat resolution. What actually happened in the 14 months after you sat in that kitchen at 4 a.m. and read 14 deleted posts. You did go upstairs that night eventually. You got back into bed around 4:30. Cassie was asleep. You lay next to her and stared at the ceiling for a long time and did not sleep. You did not wake her up. Not that night. You told her the next morning. Not dramatically. Not with a confrontation. Over coffee before work, you just said, "Jordan sent me something last night, an Unddit link. I read all 14. And you watched her face do something you had never seen it do before. She did not deny it. She did not try to explain it away. She sat down very slowly and looked at you for a long moment, and then she just said, "I know." Just that. I know. The next 3 months were the hardest of your life, frankly. Because of shouting or dramatic scenes, there was actually very little of that. The hard part was the quiet. Two people who had built a life together sitting in the rubble of the trust that held it up and trying to figure out what they were doing. You saw a couples therapist named Dr. Nadia Park 3 times a week for 2 months. It was the most uncomfortable and the most useful thing you have ever done. She answered the fragment question in the second session. Post 14. The one deleted in 4 minutes. She had written, "I told him he was asleep, but I woke him up and I told him everything. And in the dream I had about it, he forgave me immediately, and I woke up and realized I had only dreamed the conversation. That I hadn't actually had it, that it was easier to dream confessing than to do it. I deleted the post because writing that out felt too small for what I'd done." She had written a confession about a dream confession, posted it at 2:47 a.m., deleted it before 2:51, and gone back to sleep next to you. That is what the rest of that post said. The affair with Marcus had not been physical. You believe that because the timeline makes sense, and because she was specific and consistent about it in sessions, and because the therapist helped you both understand what an emotional affair actually looks like and what it does to a marriage. That does not make it simple. It just makes it what it was. Marcus transferred to a different office in March. You did not ask her to make that happen. She made it happen. You are still in the marriage. You are still in therapy once a week now instead of 3 times. Things are not back to what they were. You are both quite clear-eyed about the fact that they won't be. What you are building now is different from what you had before, which is sometimes better and sometimes harder, and which requires a kind of conscious daily maintenance that love in the early years does not. You think you might prefer it. You think the thing that was easy before was partly because it was never fully tested. You don't know. You genuinely don't know. You still have the terrible photo from the coast trip. Her hair everywhere, laughing at the wind. You kept it. You told her about it a few months after everything came out. She asked to see it. She looked at it for a long time. Then she said, "Can I have a copy?" You sent it to her, but she has it on her phone. You have never looked at the Unddit page again. You don't need to. You know what it says. Every word. You know the timestamps and the deletion windows and the upvote counts on the top comments. You know them the way you know the sound of your own name and her voice. Not because you chose to memorize them, because some things just stay. The archive is still there, technically. If you go to Unddit and search the username, all 14 posts, all the comments she never replied to, all the advice she read but couldn't follow, all the deleted honest things, she thought they were gone. They were not gone. That is the part that changes how you understand the rest of it. Not what she wrote, though that mattered. But she wrote anything at all. That she went looking for a place to say the true thing every single time the weight of it got too heavy. That she kept coming back. That she never stopped being uncomfortable with what she was doing. That discomfort, that consistent guilt that she kept posting and deleting and posting again. That turns out to be the thing that mattered most to you when you try to make sense of all of it. Not what she did. What it cost her to do it. That she knew the whole time. That she always knew. I want to know what you think. Not about whether she was wrong, we both know the answer to that. I want to know this. The fact that she kept coming back. The 14 posts. The consistent guilt. The 14 deletions. Does that change anything for you? Or does it just make it more painful? Drop that in the comments. I read every single one. Every comment, every take, every person who stayed to the end. I notice. Subscribe if this format hit differently. POV Archive drops a new deleted story every Thursday. The next week, Reddit deleted files number 2. A husband. A marriage he had already decided to leave. A single post to our marriage asking 312 strangers how to do it without breaking you. And 2 years after the divorce, you find the post on a laptop you almost threw away. And you discover that every single thing Reddit told him to do, he did. To you. In order? That one is next. These are the stories nobody planned to tell. That's why they feel the way they do.